Broadcasting live from the KSHP studios in the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada. It's time to get on the right side of sports betting. It's time for the Odds Couple.
Welcome to the Odds Couple on the world-famous Vegas Video Network. My name is Scott Pritchard, founder of Pritchard'sPicks.com, featured on VegasInsider.com. This is being simulcast live and worldwide on world-famous Vegas Video Network and KSHP AM 1400 radio right here in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm joined, as always, by a co-host, a sports enthusiast who happens to be the general manager at KSHP, Brett Grant. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Great to be back. Scott, how you doing?
Doing great. A lot of things to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's get started with What Say You. It's round two. Padres taking on the Dodgers last week. A lot of fireworks. Your thoughts?
It will be interesting. Will it be round two? Will it be bean balls? The question is, for the Dodgers, is today the best time to get their revenge? Because you know they'll be fined pretty handsomely if they do, and players will be suspended. Or do they play it closer to the vest and find a better spot down the road? Being division rivals, they'll have plenty of opportunity to see each other later on in the season, and Carlos Quentin is suspended right now, so he won't even be in the lineup. Now, do you take your retribution on somebody else, or do you wait for Quentin to get back in the lineup?
I would like to remind our listeners on KSHP AM 1400 radio that we broadcast live all the Dodger games, not to mention the Clipper games, BYU, and, of course, the Dallas Cowboys in football. We will field live chat questions on Vegas Video Network and also call the studio line here if you want to talk sports, specifically sports betting. The phone number is 702-221-7283. That's 702-221-7283. Let's recap what took place a week ago when the Dodgers took on the Padres. It was the sixth inning. No one on base. Tied game, 2-2. Zach Greinke, the star pitcher for the Dodgers, who had just signed a $147 million contract in the offseason, he has been known to go at hitters. 46 batters he's hit in the past few years, tops in all of baseball. And as far as Carlos Quentin goes, he loves hugging the plate. No player in baseball has been hit more often than Quentin.
Right.
And, in fact, Greinke, counting last week, has now hit him 3 different times. So a 3-2 pitch, bases empty, tied game, sixth inning, 2-2. He goes up high, clocks him on the shoulder, and then he charges the mound after Greinke popped off. 240 pounds compared to 195 pounds for Greinke, so he outweighed him by 45 pounds, and Greinke, not about to back down, lowered the left shoulder, and the next thing you know, I've fallen and I can't get up.
That was his second mistake, was trying to charge the bull when the bull's coming at you, as opposed to finding a better way to dodge him, or he dropped his glove. What if he held on to his glove? And then as Quentin got closer, threw his glove at him. By that time, you're looking for Adrian Gonzalez, your big first baseman, to say, where are you? And by the way, where was my catcher? Where's A.J. Ellis? Why did that guy get to the mound? That's the catcher's number one responsibility, is to make sure if there is a potential flare-up happening, the catcher's got to make sure the hitter does not get to the pitcher. And that didn't happen in this particular case. And I've argued back and forth about whether or not Carlos Quentin should have crowded the play or should have charged the mound, and whether or not Greinke was trying to hit him. I don't believe that Greinke was trying to hit him, but there's a history there. And yes, Quentin does crowd the plate. He's been hit 116 times, but he's never charged the mound before. He knows, like Craig Biggio, like Don Baylor, other players that have been hit a lot of times in the past, they know if I'm going to crowd the plate, I'm going to get hit, and they don't take it personally. But this is the third time that Quentin has been hit by Greinke, and each time was up in the strike zone, up, not to say he hit him in the head, but they was up in that general vicinity where it was shoulder high and rising, and that's the danger zone. If you're going to hit somebody, you hit him in the back, you hit him in the butt, you hit him in the leg, nobody's going to say, okay, I got you. I understand. There's a reason why you hit me. And Greinke's a guy who does like to establish some dominance on the inner part of the plate. So, yeah, he's going to hit some guys. But I don't think he should be shocked that somebody decided to make a visit and say, hey, enough of it. And I don't think that Quentin was going to go until Greinke said whatever Greinke said. And whatever he said which was maybe get your butt to first base or whatever he said, that's when Quentin went, I don't think so. I'm coming.
Right. I would absolutely agree with that assessment. I mean, it's part of the game. It's the nature of the beast. If you're going to hug the plate, occasionally you're going to get clocked. And as far as Greinke, I mean, I respect both of these guys because if I'm pitching, it's like, hey, man, get off the plate. Get off the plate. I'm going to brush you back. And yet I love Quentin because he's like, hey, man, I need an unfair advantage. I'm going to hug the plate. This is where I'm comfortable. But I don't think there was any intent. I mean, these two guys were on a collision course based on the fact that how they play and approach the game. But I don't think there was any intent. It's 2-2, sixth inning, bases empty, 3-2 pitch. If you're going to clock the guy, you wouldn't wait 6 or 7 pitches at that point. You'd clock him on the first pitch.
The funny thing is I've had people, and I've coached kids who are now in high school, back when they were about 7th or 8th graders. He goes, you know what, a couple times a kid would make the dumb mistake of trying to throw at somebody on a 3-2 count. And I'm going, what are you doing? And he goes, I figured I was going to walk him anyway, so I might as well hit him. Like, oh, all right. Well, that's not the way we play the game, so we're not going to do that. Luckily, you missed him. But it happens. And I don't know what was going through Greinke's mind. Let's say it just got away from him. Well, maybe it just got away from Quentin as well, from the standpoint of he did step out, and he was giving him some bravado and saying, what are you doing? I'm wagging the bat at you. But then Greinke said something. I don't know what he said. And people have been, obviously Dodger fans are 100% defending their guy. And I don't think it's got anything to do with the fact that he made $147 million. Hey, if you make $147 million, you should be able to throw a strike on a 3-2 pitch. But they're saying, on the other side, they're calling Quentin a bum, or a jerk, whatever name you come up with for charging the mound. To me, it's the history between these two guys. This is the third time. And Quentin's been hit a lot, no question about it. But he's never charged the mound before. To me, that spells it was Greinke was the only reason why he went, was because of the history between those two guys.
And based on the fact he confronted Quentin. I mean, imagine getting hit. You're not in the best of moods anyway, than to have the pitcher pop off.
Right.
So, I mean, who's to say you wouldn't charge too?
Well, the problem with baseball today, and if you go back to the 1960s when guys like Bob Gibson and Don Drysdale were throwing, they established the inside part of the plate. These guys today don't do it. Number one, they can't do it because as soon as they throw inside and get close to hitting somebody, the umpires give both sides a warning. So immediately, if you happen to go inside and hit somebody, you're either going to get ejected or suspended or something's going to happen, and immediately a warning is going to be called. And even if you do make that mistake, then you're risking being suspended. And nobody wants to do that, so these guys are obviously then forced to try and get to the outside part of the plate. And what do the hitters do? They know, they're smart. They can't get the ball inside on me because if they hit me, they might get ejected from the game. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get closer to the plate to protect the outside corner, give myself better plate coverage to be able to hit that outside pitch. And that's kind of the unintended circumstances of protecting the hitter from inside pitches is the fact that now, because the pitchers can't throw inside, the batters crowd the plate to get to the outside corner. And that's a problem.
Well, last week, early on in the season, big series between these two teams because they're in the same division. Now we go for round 2, and tonight we have an interesting pitching matchup with lefty Stoltz for the Padres going against the righty Billingsley for the Dodgers. Dodgers early in the season chasing the San Francisco Giants. How do you see these two pitchers matching up with one another?
Well, I think the Padres are a team that I don't think is going to be there towards the end of the season. So I think the Dodgers, even though they had they lost late yesterday in Arizona, they still have had a nice start to their season, despite the fact that they had some issues with the Padres earlier. I mean, the Giants obviously are a team that are going to be at the top of the standings. I think the Diamondbacks are an underrated team as well going in. But these are the games the Dodgers need to win. I don't care if it's April or not. You need to beat the Padres. Everybody in that division needs to beat the Padres. And this is a spot where Billingsley, coming in a little bit, you look at him, he's 1-0, pitched very well in his first start of the year. Stoltz is 1-1 with a 3.6 ERA. The problem with the Dodgers, to me, it's not necessarily been their pitching. It's been the starting pitching. It's been the back end of their bullpen and their offense. They're not hitting when they need to be hitting, and they're giving away games at the end of games like they did yesterday.
We'll be broadcasting tonight's game live right here on AM 1400 KSHP, Las Vegas, Nevada. You're listening to The Odds Couple. My name is Scott Pritchard alongside Brett Grant. Happy to have you with us. We're here Monday through Friday, 10 a to 11 a Las Vegas time. Check out my plays, pritchardspicks.com, vegasinsider.com. Now, when you look at the Padres and the Dodgers, tonight's matchup with the lefty versus the righty Billingsley, the whip factor very comparable, 1.30 versus 1.33. You talked about the ERA the first time out for Billingsley. Looked good, 1.50 ERA. And, of course, on the other side of the ledger, you have Stoltz with a 3.60 early in the season.
Well, these two guys faced each other on April the 10th. So go back to last Wednesday. These two guys pitched against each other. The Dodgers won that game 4-3, and Billingsley got the win. Stoltz got the loss. Billingsley went 6 innings, gave up the 1 run. I think Stoltz went 5 and gave up 4 earned runs in that particular spot. The fact is the Padres are 2-10, and now you take away Carlos Quentin, one of their better hitters, out of that lineup for 8 games. You wonder where the Padres coming up with offense. So you got to lean towards the Dodgers. But I'm concerned about the Dodgers from the standpoint they're 7-5 overall, and they just haven't got the hitting going. They're not nearly as bad as the Angels have been, but they're just one of those teams that right now, even though they have the big expenditures, both teams, really the Angels and the Dodgers, they went out and spent a lot of money to try and bring pennants in a freeway series to Southern California. Right now, the Angels' problem is they can't pitch, and the Dodgers' problem is they can't hit very well.
Well, looking at the Dodgers in the National League West, one of the favorites. I mean, they're expected to battle it out with the San Francisco Giants, the team that won the World Series a year ago. But you look at the Dodgers, and you mentioned, Brett, that they have to beat teams like the Padres, just like the Angels in the American League West have to beat teams like the Houston Astros.
Right. And I watched the Angels all weekend. They struggled like crazy. In fact, one of those jokes that had named things that are hotter than the Angels' offense. And they had a picture of a weatherman pointing to Antarctica. I mean, it's almost everything is hotter right now than the Angels' offense going through. Although Josh Hamilton hit a home run, Mike Trout finally hit his first home run yesterday. But they only beat the Astros 4-1 yesterday, and I think the day before was another very low-scoring game. So they haven't. It took a two-run double by Albert Pujols to win in the bottom of the ninth the day before against the Astros. So even though they won the series, and I think that's an important point in baseball, it's all about winning series. And if you're going to be one of the best teams in your division, just win 2 out of 3. Win series. That's something Tony La Russa preached like crazy when he was with the Cardinals, is we just want to win series. And if we win series, we're going to be at the top of the division.
It's a good point. It's not take one game at a time. It's take one series at a time when you're talking about 162 games over a 6-month season.
Absolutely. And there's going to be some 4-game series, and there's going to be some short 2-game series. But for the majority of those series, there are 3-game series in baseball. And if you're able to take 2 out of 3, more times than not, you're going to be at the top of the standings.
And that's why we've often heard that good pitching always beats good hitting sometimes.
Sometimes. Every other day.
And that's why it's so important to have a good starting rotation. And the Angels struggled with it last year, and even more so this year because they don't have Greinke. And C.J. Wilson has been okay, nothing great last year and again this year. Their stud is Jared Weaver. I mean, I believe he started out 17-1 a year ago, and still they couldn't make the playoffs. And this year he's on the injured list for the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, he's got that broken elbow going in, but C.J. Wilson's been bad. They sent Joe Blanton to the mound today, who's got an ERA of 9, and he's 2 losses in that spot. And if you look at the pitching stats, when you look at the Angels when it comes to pitching, they're not getting production from almost anybody going through. They're in trouble. I mean, their lowest ERA on their team is a guy in Mike Roth who's thrown only 2 innings. But you've got whips that are 1.6, 1.5, 2 for Jason Vargas, 1.7 for Downs, Tommy Hanson 1.45, Joe Blanton's is 2, C.J. Wilson's 1.5. They're giving up lots of base runners. I mean, Wilson's ERA is 4, and he's 3 starts. He's got 1 win, a couple of no decisions. He's one of those guys though who does give up lots of runs, and he reminds me a little bit of, it doesn't matter to him early if he gives up runs. He's still going to take the ball and give you 100 to 120 pitches most nights. But right now, as a team, their ERA is 4.9, and their whip is 1.46. That's not a winning formula.
That's not going to get it done. It's not getting it done, and history has a way of repeating itself, and I'm seeing the same thing with this year's Angels team that I saw last year. And I love going to Anaheim, seeing the Angels play. That team, the fans are so hungry for this team to succeed. I respect the fact they're not afraid to spend money on big-time free agents. Last year, Albert Pujols. This year, Josh Hamilton. You and I have talked, Brett, at length. We feel that 1 through 9, this team will continue to hit. You might have an occasional mini slump here and there, but the real concern, I see this team as a dead over team. Forget yesterday's 4-1 win. I mean, the under got there, but overall, long term, and the odds makers know this, so they're going to continue to shade and make you bet high into 9, 9.5, 10, 10.5 a lot of these games. But again, how can you take the under with this team?
No, I agree with you. The other part is, if you're playing a team like the Houston Astros, let me ask you, does it make sense, instead of laying that with a team that's struggling a little bit, $1.80 or that extra 80 cents, when I can take them on the run line and get even money, which I did yesterday, and it took a 2-run homer in the bottom of the 8th inning for them to get that. There was a 2-1 game all the way through it. Ended up being a 4-1 win. Does it make sense to make that play at all, or no? It's
a great question, and it's something that I'm asked a lot for baseball. I'm a dog player, so I tend to take pluses. I only want to deal with plus, plus, plus. Now, if you have there are advantages and disadvantages to playing the run line. Bruce Marshall, featured on VegasInsider.com. I have a lot of respect for this guy. He's a sharp handicapper. All he does, 90% of what he does, is he'll take the big fat favorite, per what you just said. He'll lay the 1.5 and get a plus. So again, at the end of the day, he's getting a plus. The only concern I have is when you're laying a 1.5, you're basically talking about a home team. You're only going to get 8 at-bats.
Good point.
The other team is going to be guaranteed 9 at-bats, and now you have to win by 2 runs, but that's why you're getting a plus. So in that regard, it's not so bad. Either take the dog straight up with the biggest plus that you can find. I'm a numbers guy, so again, if it's minus 80 plus 70, I'll look to find 78, 75, 78, to where I'm only laying 2-cent juice as opposed to 10, 15, 20-cent juice.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You know, to get especially baseball. A lot of people don't play baseball or wager on baseball as much as they do in football. Everybody understands the point spread or the money line when it comes to football and what makes the line move here or there. And I'm sure a lot of people, when you're thinking about, I'm going to bet, whoever, CC Sabathia at home, well, the Yankees are only going to get 8 at-bats. If
they're getting 8, the other team is guaranteed 9, and not winning's not good enough. Okay, you have to win by 2. Now, there's a big difference. I mean, in the American League, if you're talking about a team like the Yankees or Toronto or even the Angels, where if they are a big fat favorite and they're a home run happy hitting team, then if they win, chances are it will be by more than the 1 run. So I remember the Yankees a couple of years ago, 18-0, when they won by more than the 1, minus the 1.5. So again, as opposed to what is perceived as a low score, it's just like in hockey. If the total, my buddy Dink, featured in the movie Lay the Favorite, starring Bruce Willis's Dink, has told me on more than one occasion he's a hockey guru. It's all he does. Okay. He comes to me for my opinion on the other sports, but hockey, that's his expert sport, and he talks about if the total for a hockey game is 5, he likes going with the puck line plus 1.5 because it's more times than not, the total for a hockey game was right around 5.5 under 20, 5.5 under a quarter.
Right.
But if it's 5 and they shade the under, 5 under 20, 5 under a quarter, it's amazing how many times it's 1-zip, 2-1.
Even
3-2. Exactly, but that's a push. But the idea is 1.5 is huge on the puck line.
Which is the same as the run line. You're getting a 1.5 or laying a 1.5, and that's what that is. And Scott's not cursing. He is saying it with a P.
Right.
Going through, just to make sure our FCC monitors are all paying attention properly. But it's a very good point. And 5 in hockey, not that we want to bore people with hockey. I love hockey. But 5 in hockey is the equivalent of, obviously, a 3 in the NFL or a 4. It is a crucial number in hockey. Because if you're 2-2, you're getting the push no matter what. And then the empty net factors in. If it is a 3-2 game, late, there comes the empty net going. More than likely, it's going to go over that total of 5.
Right. So, again, key numbers, key totals. Hockey, 5 is the obvious key total. Major League Baseball, National League, 7 is a key number. But you can imagine if the total for a game is 6, 6.5, and you're taking plus 1.5 runs, Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some value there. You have to lay the vig, lay the juice. But again, it's a matter of, even if you have to lay 40 cents, try to find some place where you only have to lay 32, 33. I like baseball because if you are sharp and you see it before it happens, you can reverse it. Instead of, it's a positive. Instead of laying 35, you're getting plus 38. Now, long term, you're going to do very well for yourself.
Now, National League, you say a good run line, the key number is 7. Is it higher in the American League because of the designated hitter?
It is. In fact, the key number totals in baseball for the American League 9. Because think about how you get there: 9-0, 8-1, 7-2, 6-3, 5-4.
Right.
And in the National League, where it's a pitcher friendly environment because the pitchers have to bat, first of all, and you have a lot of pitcher-friendly ballparks, a la the Dodgers, and a lot of foul ground. So all that comes into play. The Washington Nationals, a very good team with their starting rotation, their middle relievers, their bullpen, and they're good at manufacturing runs, but they don't hit the long ball all that much. So again, on a total for a baseball game, if it's 6, 6.5, and you're getting plus 1.5 on the run line, that's important. But generally speaking, in baseball, National League total, 7 is a key number, 9 is a key number in the American League. We know in football the most common total, pro football, is 37 because there are so many different ways to get there. Now, in my sports betting seminars at Harrah's on the Strip in Las Vegas that I do 3 times a year, I talk about if you do nothing but bet on and off key numbers, you're going to do well. I mean, in football, the first half or the second half, the key total is 20, not 21, not 24, 20. The idea is you never want to go under 19.5, and you never want to go over 20.5. Simple techniques that long term will make you a 55, 58, 60% winner ATS against the spread. Now, a lot of people think that 3 touchdowns and a field goal, 24, is a very key number. It is, but 23 is much more prevalent. Now, 21 doesn't come into play because there's always 1, 2, 3 field goals in a first half, second half. I mean, the only way that 20.5 over hurts you is if it falls 21, 3 touchdowns, but that's rare. I mean, think about it. I mean, to have not a single field goal scored by either team. So again, key numbers, very, very important. And we talked before about being on the move early or against it late. Very important long term. Short term, it may not seem like it's all that significant, but long term, very important.
Well, I know there was a stat going on the last couple of bowl seasons in college football where you play the first half under in the bowl game. And if it doesn't hit, then you would double up and play the under again in the second half. And the odds of you hitting one of those, it's been astronomically in your favor that one of the halves was going to go under the total. And in the long run, that was hitting to like 64% from the half standpoint. Because even though there might be a high-scoring 40-point first half, more than likely that second half was going to stay under. Or you just won your first half under and didn't have to worry about doubling up and getting your money back in the second half. What about trends like that?
64% is off the hook insane good. There is this information, people pay a lot of money for the information I'm about to share with you, but there's one trend for the history of betting pro football that comes into play, and that has to do with if a double-digit favorite, say the Niners are favored by 12, and let's say they're up 21-3 at halftime, the trend is in the second half, play the under. And the reason is the Niners, in the first half, both teams are trying to score. But in the second half, let's say you're favored by 12-13. They don't care about that, but they do care about the final score. It's 21-3 at half, so you've already won the game. So now you're playing the clock. You're not playing the opposition. You're playing the clock. You have one team that's trying to score, but the problem is they're inept on offense. They've already proven that. So they will try, and if it's in the fourth quarter with about 8 minutes to go and you're down, say, 34-10 as an example, and you're facing 4th and 7 at the Niner 8-yard line, you're not going to kick the gimme field goal, guaranteed 3 points. You're going to go for the low percentage touchdown. Chances are you're not going to get it. And so what happens? The team that's up 20, they will take over and just grind it out. Student body right, student body left. They play the clock. And this has been a 60% winner. If you're hitting 60% ATS against the spread, whether you're betting point spreads or totals, you're going to do extremely well for yourself.
So that's on a double-digit favorite. You won't do anything on that particular game until the second half comes, just almost an automatic second half under, regardless of the score. They got to be covering the spread basically at halftime.
Second half under, and
Provided
then of course find the highest number and bet the under. The same rules apply. Two things have to happen for me to make a bet. One, I have to have a strong opinion, and two, I have to get the best number to offset the 10-cent vig, the 10-cent juice, the rub, if you will, the sportsbook's take on things.
Great information, as always.
You're listening to The Odds Couple on Vegas Video Network. My name is Scott Pritchard alongside Brett Grant, and we're talking sports betting. We're talking sports in general. The Lakers, have they won 7 of 8? Now they're without their star player, Kobe Bryant. They won at home as a small dog last night against the San Antonio Spurs. Wow, I'm impressed. What say you?
I watched a little bit of the game last night towards the end of it, and they really shut down San Antonio when it mattered. Steve Blake was hitting some important shots. Even Dwight Howard was making his free throws. What was going on? I'm not sure what happened. Suddenly Superman decided kryptonite no longer from the free throw line. I can make free throws. And if Dwight Howard can make free throws, then suddenly teams won't be fouling him, and now he'll be going to the basket, be able to make baskets. It's a huge advantage for the Lakers if Howard is making his free throws because he gets there a lot.
I don't think we can rely on Dwight Howard making his free throws. I know Greg Popovich, the genius coach for the San Antonio Spurs, late in the second quarter, he intentionally fouled Howard. He was 1 for 6 at one time, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. I get that. 43-43 at halftime. The Lakers came out, played inspired ball. The most important thing that I saw in this game, Brett, the Lakers as a team played very good defense.
Well, I think, a lot of times when you have a key injury, early after that injury, the team will band together and play very, very well for a short period of time. But I think over the long haul, you start to miss that guy more. And while your emotions were there last night and you saw they knew how important the game was, I think eventually it'll become a bigger factor. The interesting thing to me, and we talked about this last week, is the Spurs have not won a road game since the month of February. We're in the middle of April now. Happy tax day, by the way. And they haven't won a road game in about 6-7 weeks. That's a big alarming number.
It is. And the concern with the San Antonio Spurs, as good as they are, they continue to be banged up. I mean, Boris Diaw, they did not see this coming, out 3 to 4 weeks. He just had surgery on his back. Tony Parker just came back, did not look good last night on the road taking on the Lakers. The one guy that continues to defy logic and time is Tim Duncan. He continues to be on fire. Paul Gasol for the Lakers, good game last night, not shooting, but 16 rebounds, 3 blocks. He came to play.
Yeah, well, and he's a very good player. And, now he's going to have to step up what he does. Howard's going to have to step up. If they get Nash back, he'll have to step up and pick up that slack as well. On the other side, I'm more alarmed about the Spurs in those road games. They've been held in the 80s, most of those games when they're losing on the road. And, the only time they're getting near 100 points now is at home. And, they're in the mid-80s, most of their road games right now. They're really struggling to score. And you can give credit to the Lakers defensively, but it's not just the Lakers. Every team right now is handling this Spurs team on the road.
And I think it has to do – I think they've lost probably 6 games in a row on the road, and that's not consistent with how – this Spurs team play. I mean, they still have a road winning record, but instead of being seeded 1, chances are they're going to be seeded 2 in the Western Conference, and that's a big deal. I mean, last year they had home court advantage, won the first 2 games against Oklahoma City in the Western Conference Finals before losing 4 straight, and this was after they won 18 consecutive games, 10 in a row during the playoffs. I think, playing devil's advocate for Oklahoma City, as good as they are, think about this. The Spurs are basically 1 game back, and yet they've been hit hard with injuries. Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, and now Steven Jackson's gone. But this team, the concern I have is the timing. This is the time of year you want to be peaking and playing your best basketball. They're not.
I agree with you there, and that's where maybe Popovich has really got to be scratching his head a little bit, going, what do I need to do? We have, they have 2 games left in the regular season to get on the right spot. They play, I think, again tonight right at Golden State. And what do they have to do to suddenly get it right as they go into the playoffs? Because the last thing you want to do is be limping, because you're going to get the best shot, whether it's Golden State or the Lakers, more than likely. It could be Houston, I guess, that San Antonio sees. They're going to get a pretty young team in one of those two teams in Houston or Golden State. And one thing about the Spurs, they're a little bit older. And those young teams will run you up and down the floor and have some fun. And whether or not the Spurs and those old legs and injured legs and backs and hamstrings and whatever else they got going on, can they make the adjustments to be able to win?
I'm a big Spurs fan. I love Greg Popovich. I think he's the best coach on the planet. I really do. As good as the Spurs are, as good as they've been, they've won 4 NBA titles with Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich. But people forget, man, the last time they won it all was 2007.
Well, that, and you wonder about if the series, even if they win in the first round, do they win in 4 games or do they win in 6? Or do they get extended all the way to 7? That's a big difference for an older team. The more games you're able to save and keep in the tank for later on when you play the big dogs like OKC, or if you get to the finals and you have to face a team like Miami, on those legs, it certainly helps back like a month before that in late April that you were able to sweep Golden State or Houston or dispose of them in 5 games as opposed to 7.
A lot of people think Magic Johnson, namely, says that Greg Popovich has done this before. He's so savvy and so smart. And I don't know if I disagree with what Magic Johnson has said. He says the Spurs don't want the number 1 seed, namely because they felt like they would be playing the Lakers with Kobe Bryant. But more importantly than that, in the second round, the number 1 seed is going to have to play the Memphis Grizzlies, bad matchup for the Spurs, or the LA Clippers, as opposed to a road-weary bad team like the Denver Nuggets without their second leading scorer and a questionable point guard in Ty Lawson because he's been hit hard with injuries. In the first round, the Spurs, as a number 2 seed, will play the Houston Rockets. Well, the Rockets, that's not much of a road trip for a team struggling on the road.
Good point.
So that
it could be Golden State, though, right?
It could be, but I really
think they're tied right now, same record with 2 games left to play.
I almost feel like it will be Houston.
Okay.
But either way, I mean, they will beat Houston or Golden State.
You're thinking tonight when the Spurs play Golden State, the Spurs might be not very motivated.
Well, the thing is,
because they'd rather play Houston in the second.
I don't think
round?
they care if it's Golden State or Houston. But the big thing is the number 2 seed is the second round matchup, whereas the number 1 seed will have to play Memphis or the Clippers. The number 2 seed gets to play Denver.
Right.
And Denver's without their second leading scorer, and their style of play is not conducive to a half-court set come playoff time, which everyone slows it down, and you play in mud. And the Spurs, as Popovich says, even though their offense has improved tremendously the past few years, they're a great three-point shooting team. Not so much lately because, they've been struggling on the road. But it starts and stops with defense.
Well, there's a few teams that are playing well right now. I mean, Oklahoma City's playing well, Denver's playing well, Memphis, and the Lakers are playing well. Everybody else is kind of like just kind of holding pattern. Spurs are 5-5 in their last 10. Clippers are 6-4. Houston and Golden State 6-4. I mean, Utah's playing really well. They're 8-2 in their last 10, but it might not be good enough to catch the Lakers. Utah has 2 games left to play. The Lakers have only 1 game left to play against Houston to end their season, where Utah's got to win against Memphis and Minnesota and Memphis, and hope the Lakers lose to be able to get in the playoffs.
For the Lakers to solidify the number 8 seed, without their best player, they basically need 1 win or a Utah Jazz loss. I don't think the Jazz will lose either of their last 2 games, so ultimately it'll come down to the Lakers. I believe they play Houston, right?
Yeah.
Right. It'll come down to that game, and the Houston Rockets.
Wednesday night, I think it is.
Right, last game of the season and the last night of the regular season. So, I mean, that game right there could decide if the Lakers are in or out.
Well, regardless, I think it's commendable the way they played last night, and with the bad start to their season and how long it took them to get to the 500 mark. The fact that they're finishing strong, they've won 4 in a row, and I think you said 7 of 8, 8 of 10 overall. They're now 7 games over 500. And without Kobe Bryant now. Inspired effort last night. We'll see what they do coming up against a good Houston team.
Very exciting. We're talking sports betting. Scott Pritchard alongside Brett Grant. I'm with Pritchard'sPicks.com, the founder. Also check out my plays, VegasInsider.com. Brett is the GM here at KSHP AM 1400 Radio. We're live Monday through Friday from 10 a to 11 a Las Vegas time. Simulcast on the world-famous Vegas Video Network. We're going to do a segment, and it has to do with spin to win. I'm going to bring up this magic wheel, all right? And the reason we do this is because successful sports bettors know that you never bet with your heart. You only bet with your head. Be an independent, progressive thinker, independent, void of emotion. Emotions cloud judgment. So we're going to spin the wheel. We have a game featuring the Dallas Mavericks hosting the Memphis Grizzlies. The point spread on this game, the Grizzlies are favored by 3.5. Wherever it lands, I go first. I have to sell you on why there is value with one team. Brett automatically has to take the other side because, again, you should be able to make an argument for both teams before you step up to the bet window. Hopefully you have an edge or a strong opinion or getting a half point and a half, the best of it, as you bet. Let's spin to win. Dallas Mavericks taking on the Memphis Grizzlies in Dallas. The point spread is 3.5. I guess I have the Grizzlies minus the points. Again, that's rare that I'll argue it. I like the Memphis Grizzlies on the road laying points long term. A losing proposition if you're going to lay points on the road in anything. All right? But the Memphis Grizzlies are a good, sound defensive team. Lionel Hollins, a good coach. Loved him when he played for the Portland Trail Blazers back in '77 when he and Bill Walton won the NBA championship against, I believe it was the Philadelphia 76ers. But Memphis, this team made for the playoffs. They play half court. They play good defense. Marc Gasol, stud center. Zach Randolph. No one is better offensively rebounding the basketball. And as far as the Dallas Mavericks go, I see this team as a fraud. I love their owner, Mark Cuban. I don't like Dirk Nowitzki. He's soft. He was soft years ago. He's still soft. Michael James, come on. Mike James is your starting point guard in the NBA. Give me a break. Memphis Grizzlies minus the 3.5. Ring up the ringer, see the cashier.
I couldn't agree with you more. You got to give me the other side. I mean, the Grizzlies have the best defense in the league. They give up the least amount of points of any team in the league. The Mavericks are 40-40 playing out the string. So you ask yourself, what do you have to play for? Pride. And the question is, do the Mavericks bring any pride? And they do get their final 2 games of the year at home at American Airlines Arena. I like Dirk. I think he's a gamer in the standpoint. The Mavericks are a team that has done well and gotten to NBA Finals, and I kind of like Dirk. But you're right; it's a team that doesn't have a whole lot. I mean, you look at Sean Marion towards the end of his career, a guy like Collison, who's a decent player, Elton Brand, who's kind of bounced around the league a little bit. The only thing I can say is I'm a home team. I want to play well in front of my fans, so they have a good feeling as they come back, and we ask them to renew their season tickets. And by the way, we're getting points. It's little motivation in this game for either side. If I had to play the game, I wouldn't. But I guess I have to take the Mavericks.
You have the Mavericks plus the 3.5. You do have the home cooking, the home court, the refs in your back pocket late in the game. But this Memphis team, as good as they are, I'm surprised and yet impressed. They traded their best player, Rudy Gay. They also traded their bench, and yet they find a way. It just goes to show if you do nothing else but play good, sound defense, you're going to be in and win a lot of games.
Well, the amazing thing about this, especially from an NBA standpoint, that you take a team like Memphis, who hasn't won championships, but yet they have bought into the defensive philosophy of going out, and this is how we're going to win. And maybe it's Zach Randolph, having played for Tom Izzo at Michigan State. And that was the way, maybe you got the perfect fit there with their style versus what he was taught in college, because that's the way Michigan State played, and that's the way they had success. So I think, and he's the leader of the team. When you get that, and Michael Conley at Ohio State, same kind of thing, a very good point guard and a good defensive point guard as well. So I think that part of it works for the Memphis Grizzlies.
You're listening to The Odds Couple on the world-famous Vegas Video Network, simulcast live on KSHP AM 1400 radio right here, Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada. You can catch us every Monday through Friday, 10 a to 11 a Las Vegas time. I'm checking out Brett's attire today. You know, you're wearing a purple shirt. I saw you just take a drink. I mean, I didn't see the memo.
I didn't realize I was all purple.
I didn't realize I was
turning into that's purple too. I didn't realize I was Digger Phelps today. I do not have a purple highlighter, by the way. Hang on, I can give you a yellow one.
I like it.
There you go.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back on The Odds Couple. Stay tuned.
Have you ever thought you should be on the radio? Or have you considered doing an online video show or podcast? If so, now is your only chance to do both at the same time. KSHP and the Vegas Video Network have teamed up to provide the only multi-camera broadcast quality video and live radio simulcast in Las Vegas. And instead of having your show played at some ungodly hour, the KSHP Vegas Video Network partnership is producing shows that play from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. Imagine having your own radio show broadcasting to the entire Las Vegas Valley, and combine that with an online presence that is viewed in all 50 states and 150 countries, both live and on demand. This is a first and an outstanding opportunity to give voice to your business, your ideas, and your talent. If you'd like your own show on KSHP and the Vegas Video Network, contact us today at 221-1200. That's 221-1200.
Welcome back to the Odds Couple on the world-famous Vegas Video Network. My name is Scott Pritchard, founder of Pritchard'sPicks.com. Check out my plays, VegasInsider.com. We have close to 1 million views a day. I'm joined by Brett Grant, the GM and the sports enthusiast, man. This guy bets sports every day like me. And again, we're simulcast on Vegas Video Network and KSHP AM 1400 Radio. I bring this to your attention because we would like for you to become a part of the show. Reach out to us. Email us at oddscouple@vegasvideonetwork.com. That's oddscouple@vegasvideonetwork.com. Another way to reach out to us, we would love to hear your voice on our show through web-based voicemail. Go to our site, Vegas Video Network. On the right-hand side, a red bar. Click there. Middle of the page, green bar, start recording. Now, we also field live chat questions through Vegas Video Network, whatever is on your mind in regards to sports and or sports betting. If you do miss us live, no worries. Reach out to us on Vegas Video Network, YouTube, iTunes, Roku. Again, the phone number here at the studio is 702-221-7283. Keep those questions coming, 702-221-7283. Are you kidding me?
I'm kidding you. Did you watch the Masters yesterday? Are you kidding me with the quality of golf that those guys played down the final 5-6 holes?
You know what it is? I bet college and pro football, college and pro basketball, Major League Baseball, women's basketball. I'm not proud, but I am loud. When it comes to golf, I don't get it because I don't bet it.
Well, you should, because there's great – I mean, where else on a given weekend, maybe NASCAR, can you find a player – that might go off at 50 or 60 to 1 and has a legitimate shot to win a tournament as you do in the Masters. Now, yesterday I had Jason Day, and with 3 holes to play, Jason Day had a 2-shot lead. And are you kidding me? He bogeys 16 and 17 and misses the playoff, which ironically went to 9 under par, which is where he was as he stepped to the tee box at number 16. So, Jason Day, are you kidding me? But big kudos to UNLV Golf, former Rebel Adam Scott, who was 3 shots back yesterday with 8 holes to play, came through and he birdied the par 5 13th. He birdied the par 5 15th. He made very nice plays on the holes in between. He got to 18, knew he needed to make a birdie, and he rolled in a long putt for birdie to get to 9 under par, and he's pumping. Did you see the biceps on Adam Scott yesterday, those highlights? Good Lord. And he played terrific. Nobody mentioned the fact, of course, it was in a downpour most of the afternoon in the back 9. And then Angel Cabrera, the grandfather who quit school at age 10 to caddy, who basically taught himself how to play golf, who went out and won a green jacket a few years ago, hits one of the best shots on number 18 that you've ever seen, considering the need to make a birdie, the circumstances surrounding it, the 72nd hole of the Masters, the pouring down rain, and he stuffed it 2 feet from the hole to force a playoff. And then it took 2 more holes before Adam Scott made another terrific putt on number 10 to win the Masters. And it was just great drama. The Masters, as it always is, delivered once again. I think the rain really added to the drama. And the are you kidding me to me is how well these guys played in the rain. I don't even know if they knew it was raining. So, guys, are you kidding me? Great golf yesterday at the Masters.
Very impressive. They're true professionals to be able to block out, to block out mentally the fact that it was raining.
I play a lot of golf. I played golf in college, and I was in St. Andrews, Scotland last summer, and I played 4 holes in the rain. Luckily, it only rained 4 holes. and you're worried about so many things. You've got your umbrella, you've got your rain gear, you've got your grips. You got to keep your grips dry. You have to keep your gloves dry. Now these guys have caddies that are working all that stuff for them as well, and you got to get your yardage, and you got to figure out, okay, the conditions of the golf course have obviously changed from when it was when we teed off. The greens are no longer the same speed they were an hour ago. The fairways are no longer carrying a ball as far as they used to. There's a lot of changing factors that go on. Now the wind, and then you throw in the precipitation. The ball is not rolling as far, or it could be a squirter. A ball could fly out of a situation when it normally wouldn't. There's a lot of things that go into it, and the quality of golf that those two guys played was absolutely fantastic.
We've talked a little bit about the San Antonio Spurs, the fact that they've struggled here late in the season. The thing that's interesting to me with the San Antonio Spurs, are you kidding me? This team just waived, let go Steven Jackson. Steven Jackson was on the team in 2003 for the Spurs that won an NBA championship. He was a star for the Charlotte Bobcats. He was a star for the Golden State Warriors. And last year, the Spurs re-signed Steven Jackson. He's tall, he's long, he can score, he can rebound. He's a very good player. What I love about Greg Popovich is also what I don't like about Greg Popovich. He's a bit cutthroat. Doesn't matter who you are or what you do, he will cut you if you cross him. Steven Jackson, as good as he is, he's been a little bit of a whiner, crier, complainer. And Popovich said, listen, we've got the playoffs right around the corner. You're gone. Hasta la vista. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. The players are not happy. I mean, as far as Steven Jackson, he tweeted, hey, 2 letters. BS. He's upset. I get it. Because they cut him after March 1st. He is now, if another team picks him up, he's not eligible to play in the postseason playoffs. So from his vantage point, I get it. But are you kidding me?
Do we have the whole story, though, you think, with him?
Yes and no. I think all we need to know is that he has been upset with his lack of playing time, and he's crying and complaining. It does not bode well. Popovich wants everyone on the same page. Now, I love Popovich because he's gone on record. I mean, Tim Duncan has gone on record as saying that the first day of training camp every year, Tim Duncan, the best player on the planet, proven 4 NBA championships, and Popovich, every year, first day of practice is barking, yelling, kicking Tim Duncan's butt. And the reason he does that is it shows the young pups that, listen, if this guy is getting on this guy,
right.
So it gives him the green light to get on everyone else and keep everyone else flying straight. Now, Steven Jackson, as good as he is, he does have a little bit of a mental attitude problem. They got rid of him. But also, the reason they think they can do this is because Leonard is such a star player.
Kawhi Leonard's been terrific, no question. Apparently, we have a new segment, Bring a Peasant into the Studio Day, as we bring in executive producer Scott Whitney. Director, what else should we call you?
Just call me your buddy.
Your buddy.
Hey, what would you have thought happened if Tiger had won? How would the golf community have responded to the fact that he got penalized? Some people think he should have quit. What do you think should have happened?
Well,
or would have happened?
Old school guys certainly would have thought that he would have been disqualified. And that rule was in place, a new rule was in place a year ago that allowed Tiger to continue playing. The interesting thing about what happened was because the ball hit the flagstick and it came back at a different angle and went into the water at a different angle, his drop was improper. You need to drop it on the line where your ball enters the hazard. He did his drop basically where the ball crossed the hazard, not entered the hazard, and he actually went back a couple of steps, which he wasn't allowed to do. But there's a new rule that says if you basically break a rule unbeknownst to you or it's discovered later, you get the 2-stroke penalty. Now, some folks have said the honorable thing for Tiger to do would have been to disqualify himself and say, for the integrity of the game, for my integrity, and for the integrity of the Masters, I'm going to withdraw myself. Basically he's saying, I'm going to give up $600,000 for finishing second or third, or $1 million+ if I happen to win the tournament. Now, I was driving here to work today, and I was going about 65 miles an hour down Sahara. I did not volunteer to send Metro Police money for my speeding violation. I got to be honest with you. Come on.
What do you think about the idea that somebody's watching the game on TV and they text an official and go, hey, that guy violated? I mean, that just seems to me wrong.
I've sent emails to Roger Goodell many times. He hasn't responded yet. I agree with you.
I think if they catch it, they catch it, but it should be like anything. If they miss it, they miss it. That's part of the deal.
The thing about golf is that there is a rules official walking along with every group, and that's their job, is to make sure. But they don't offer advice. They only give it when it's asked. So if Tiger said, hey, how do I handle this, then the official could have offered the advice. Now, it seems like, Scott, I don't know if you followed this very closely yesterday, on Friday night they realized there was a potential issue, and they made a determination. But they didn't bother talking to Tiger about it until the next day. And then they decided to assess him the 2-strike penalty. Now, he finished 5 under par for the tournament. He would have been 7 under par without the penalty, and the leaders were at 7 under par. Had Tiger known that he was good to go, I think he would have been in that hunt come Sunday late in the afternoon. It's a double-edged sword, and I think Tiger handled it very well. I think he explained it properly. Under the rules of golf, the current rules of golf, he's able to play, so he played.
We're going to keep it moving, as this is the part of the show where Brett Grant and I together put money into your pocket as we put you on the right side.
Hey, the right side today, I'm sticking to baseball, and we're going to go to a late game with a big underdog play today, the Houston Astros at the Oakland A's. A couple of things about this matchup is the pitching matchup we always look at. Eric Bedard, who had terrific success in the American League previously, has been in this division previously with the Seattle Mariners. In fact, he had 46 starts when he was in Seattle. His whip was about 1.2, and his ERA was in the low threes. And so far this year in his one start, he was terrific. He did not get the win because the Houston Astros went out and barraged the Seattle Mariners with a ton of runs. And in between his innings, he had to sit for 45 minutes while the offense was scoring. They took him out after 4 innings, but Eric Bedard has pitched over 7 innings so far this year. He's given up only 2 hits, and he's given up 0 runs in his 2 outings this year. On the other side for Oakland, Tommy Milone is 2-0, but an ERA of 4.5. He's been very fortunate from the standpoint of the A's were swinging like crazy in Malone's 2 starts. Bedard has been getting some some scoring as well. I like the Houston Astros plus 170 today at the Oakland A's.
I respect the pick. Anytime you're on a plus, and it's a big fat plus, it takes courage, my friends, to be on the Houston Astros, regardless what the price is.
The A's are under 500 at home, by the way.
I like it. Well, that's a surprise because in the past they've always been very dominant at home. But plus 70 cents, Houston Astros, the right side for Brett. And Brett was so good last week. Before we get to my right side, I do want to recap what we did on Thursday, but Brett was so good last week that we gave him the day off on Friday.
I earned it.
You earned it, I'm telling you.
I must have lost on Thursday.
Now, my play on Thursday, a total 7 under in the Seattle game. It fell 4-3, so it was a push. Today, I'm looking at a baseball game. The Padres taking on the Dodgers. You can check it out right here on KSHP AM 1400. We have Stoltz, the lefty, going against Billingsley. The total for this game is 7. We talked about what a key number that 7 is. I'm looking at this game, and they're shading the over. It's 7 over minus 15, as opposed to laying 10 cents. You have to lay 15, 20 cents. I see value here in playing the over 7. My right side today, Red Rover, I love the over.
All right, you're going over a couple of baseball. Again, Bueller, clear your throat. Let's try her again.
This
no.
bell.
There it is. Bingo.
There we go. Okay. All right. You're listening to the Odds
Couple. It's like
Couple.
you dropped a dinner plate on her.
I was going to say, I don't know what's up with that, but I seem to smother the ringer on a day-in, day-out basis. You're listening to the Odds Couple on Vegas Video Network, KSHP Radio. Any thoughts on the Lakers moving on? Bottom line, will they get in the playoffs? Will they not? They need 1 win or a Utah loss with 3 games between the 2 teams.
Well, I think if Mr. Oddsmaker here gave me the odds of this, they got to be 75-25. That's going to be a yes. I would think they've got the game lead. They've only got 1 game left to play. The other side has to go perfect. They need the Lakers to lose. A lot of combinations in favor of the Lakers. I'm going to say yes, they make the playoffs.
The good news for the Lakers, they control their own destiny. If they win against the Houston Rockets, they're in. Or if the Utah Jazz lose one of their last 2 games, Lakers are in. But the Jazz have a favorable schedule, 2 weak sisters as far as who they play. My name is Scott Pritchard alongside Brett Grant. We're live every Monday through Friday, KSHP, Vegas Video Network, 10A to 11A. Good being here. Thank you.